The Utah Jazz, remarkable in a heart-pounding win behind a massive performance from Lauri Markkanen, and they beat the Thunder in overtime, 120-119, and we're here to talk about it next on POSTCAST. David Locke along with Ron Boone, Jazz fans, that was fun. Aren't they all this year? That was pretty incredible. 120-119 win. So many things to talk about. Will we get to all of them? I have no idea. I think you've got to start with Lauri Markkanen scoring 16 of 20 at one point for the Jazz, 18 fourth-quarter points, and just, like, if you're looking for a franchise piece, you're looking for a guy who you're going to, rely on, who's going to show his pregame Will Hardy says, we're interested in watching his presence, how he conducts himself, how he holds himself. He's proven he's an all-star. Now he's our leader. Now he's our guy. He's got to prove that. He did that tonight.
He definitely did it, David, and he answered the call, meaning, okay, if this is our guy and he's going to be the guy that's going to take us, to the end of the ball game and win basketball games for you, you put the ball in his hand, can he respond? And he did. And the great thing about it is he responded in a lot of different ways. He knocked down the threes. He knocked down the two. How about the putback dunk? That wasn't necessarily a dunk, but it was the putback there over a couple of defenders. So he did it in a lot of different ways. So he's not just a three-point shooter as he was in line for at the beginning of his career.
I think this is the biggest story of his season. There's just nothing fluky about it. This guy's an elite athlete. We heard Rick Carlisle talk about his testing when we were in Indiana. That he was with Dallas at the time, and they had the 2 picks later. I think they had the 9th pick of the draft, and they tested Lauri and looked at him, and he was just an elite athlete. We asked Will Hardy about it. He was like, oh, he's a beast. And you're seeing him put together his athleticism, his collection of skills, his shooting. He's doing it all. It's incredible.
Well, at the beginning of the year, we had so many coaches talk about what they saw when he was in Sweden, right? Is it Sweden or Finland? Finland. And my question at that point was, what did they see there that they didn't see when he was playing here with the Bulls and with the Cleveland Cavaliers? So now I understand what they did see, because he does a lot, handles the basketball, can shoot it, drives to the basket. He plays big enough to the point where he plays to his height on a lot of different occasions, which makes him remarkable.
Okay, big picture for a second. I hope this doesn't come across wrong, but I'll be just totally honest. I just turned to Ron and just said, we got no business winning these games. It doesn't line up. Honestly, we're playing guys that, give them credit. They're all playing hard, right? So they all deserve credit. I'm not trying to minimize who they are. But, a lot of these guys have bounced around to a lot of teams, or haven't been on teams, or haven't proven they're NBA players yet, or haven't proven their NBA rotations. Maybe that's it, that they're all just got something to prove. And maybe it's like what Mark Dagnall talked about before the game, that the Thunder pride themselves on being a 48-minute team. And tonight, the Jazz out 53-minute a 48-minute team. Ron, how are they doing this?
And I hope the guys that are the new guys that are here, and Chris Dunn, who played pretty well tonight, take on that same DNA that the Jazz have right now, where they just continue to fight and stay in ball games and give themselves a chance to win. And good things happen. They're 4-0 in overtime, and they beat some pretty good basketball teams in that case. So it's a big difference when you just give up and you're getting beat by 15, 20 points every ball game. But you look at what the Jazz are doing. They're always in games, and they always give themselves a chance to win.
All right, let's go late game. There's a lot of moments of this game, and they're hard to remember. J.P. Chunga, I give him credit. He's reminded me of one. Walker Kessler makes a pretty big defensive mistake that Will Hardy had basically said to us pregame. I've watched enough Oklahoma City Thunder. I'd love to tell Taylor Horton-Tucker, you guard your guy, but there's nobody who can guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It just doesn't happen. I'm not leaving my guys on an island. And here in a big play, Walker leaves him on an island. The story... And then there's a foul called, and Gilgeous-Alexander goes to the free throw line, and Will lays into Walker, lays in him. The story of the year on Walker Kessler has been that he's a perfectionist, and that they're trying to get him to understand how to play after making mistakes and not to play backwards. And Walker Kessler proceeds, after making that mistake, to grab the offensive rebound on a Lauri Markkanen miss.
In a crowd.
Go up, get it. He actually gets knocked off balance, I believe, if I remember correctly, takes a dribble, goes back up, misses, gets it a second time and finishes it. He then goes down on the other side. They catch Isaiah Joe on a skip pass over the top, which was a surprise. Kessler has to close out on Joe. Joe drives, and Kessler shadows him and blocks his shot to force overtime. Like, I mean, when he hit the shot, my call was, that's a moment.
Yeah.
That's a moment. Like, this one matters. He's a different player now that he just made that. He's a different man now that he made those 2 plays.
Yeah, it's within yourself there too. So he feels that. He feels that he made an impact. And I made a mistake, but I still made an impact on the basketball game and gave us a chance to win. Now he'll get patted on the back by Will, but he'll also, when he makes another mistake, Will let him know. You learn from those things, and to the point where you're aggressive enough and you become smart enough because you've been in those situations before. We've been very impressed with him all year. His work ethic and the things that the way he's been able to just play his way into minutes and now a starter and then really getting starter minutes.
So the other aspect of this game that gets really interesting is the way these guys just battled and played. They make a bunch of shots late. There's also an Oklahoma City side to it. They came into this game 27th in the league in offense in the clutch. Is that right? Yes. They were 13 and 20 in the clutch. The Jazz started double teaming Shea. He gave the ball up a few times, didn't get results. Then he tried to play without giving it up. He's great. He's remarkable. I'd have to go back and look at the efficiency of what he did. But it's clear that this Thunder team, as much as they're developing and growing, you get the ball out of Shea's hands, they don't really have guys to make plays after that.
Yeah, that's for sure, David. And just think about what the Jazz were doing. It late in the clock, 4 seconds on the clock, sometimes 5, 3, whatever the case is. They went and started to double Alexander. Now, if you're going to give it up, you're probably going to give it up to someone that's going to have to rush a shot. And so that puts him in a spot, in a situation where he has to make a tough shot, which is awfully tough to do. I don't care who you are. And so that was one of the defensive plans. I would imagine next time the Jazz play this team, they will try to be ready for something like that. But it did work here tonight. I thought, David, this was a pretty ugly ball game at the beginning of the ball game.
Oh, yeah.
Things got excited as it kept going on. Neither team could make a three-point shot. Both teams combined 21 of 85 from the three-point line here tonight. And that's, we're so accustomed, and the fans are so accustomed, wanting that three-point bomb to go in because they get excited about it as well. But that didn't happen here tonight.
Well, Kendrick Williams hit 2 threes that you thought were going to make the Thunder win it tonight. But it turned out it was the Jazz overtime three-point shooting that probably did win it for them.
Yeah, exactly. The Jazz, they were 0 for 1. I think the Jazz were 3 for 6. Jazz were 3 for 8. But that was the difference, I thought, in that overtime, because the Jazz three-point shooting, they were 5 for 9, 56% there from.
But they did not get a three, and those threes matter. The Jazz only field goals were threes, one by Olynyk, one by Markkanen, and one by Jordan late as the Jazz, the fourth quarter. This was not pretty. Yeah, I think, Ron, the half-court offense was anemic for the Jazz in the first half, and they were at 0.6 points per possession. But I think this also, I mean, Ron, you even said at one point in the broadcast, if the Thunder can make a few threes, they could really run away with this.
Separate themselves easily, yes.
They didn't do it, which is probably they were out of half, but just nobody has separated themselves from the Jazz. Your answer to me when I kind of made that first comment to you about, how are we doing? Well, we stay in every game.
Yeah.
And if you stay in every game, and then frankly, once we got back to having our guys on the floor, our 5 primary guys right now, you felt a little bit better, like you had a shot. Talen Horton-Tucker, he got stripped late. There was a mistake there. But, this is the first time he's ever played point guard in a late-game clutch situation probably all in his entire career. He did not handle in L.A. There's a guy named LeBron.
Yeah.
So for him to be making these kind of having this kind of responsibility in these plays, it's pretty incredible for him.
But the Jazz played through those mistakes, which was remarkable as well. And Will said it before the ball game. He wants Tucker to balance between scoring and defense. Scoring is something that he likes to do. I think his low percentage shots sometimes kind of gets him in trouble. But now at that point guard position, he's trying to be a playmaker and distribute the basketball, and that's not his thing right now. But hopefully he gets better at it.
So the Jazz probably need to close the season, this final 22 games, 13-9. to secure a play-in, maybe 12-10. If you want to get greedy, being 7 or 8 is way different than being 9 or 10 because you get to play the 2 chances to make it instead of 1. So it's a huge difference to be 7 or 8. So who knows? And it's all going to be tight. But this was a massive win because you now have to take care of business in your next 2. The Spurs have lost 700 in a row in their quest to get Tim Duncan in the lottery. Oh, wait, sorry. That was a different season. But it's the same theme. Yeah. And so you've got to get the next 2 against the Spurs. Popovich's former coaches seem to be incapable of beating him most of the time. And we'll see whether the Jazz can find a way to get that done. And then you go back and play Oklahoma City 2 more, and if you can grab one of them, it's really big. And then you just got to start to find a way to piece together strange wins along the way and get in this play-in. And I think, I'll go back to one thing. I talked about this on Locked On Jazz today. It's something that we've heard. From the Jazz standpoint right now, these are important games. And Lauri Markkanen played an important game and carried the Jazz to a win with a monster performance. And these are big, important moments for the growth of this franchise.
Yeah, but he's going to need some help down the line somewhere. I mean, Clarkson's going to have his moments, I think. And maybe Dunn, if he sticks around, could have, and I'm not saying 30, 40 points or something like that, but a big 20-something point night to complement what Markkanen would do at 20 and maybe Clarkson at 20 or something like that. But the big thing here going forward, David, is you win those basketball games. You put pressure on other teams, Lakers, the teams that are scrambling and trying to even get into the play-in game before they make a run and maybe even try to get into the playoffs there as possible. But that's the big thing here for the Jazz. Is if you have to be a spoiler and don't make the playoffs, but you just keep playing hard and who knows?
There's some teams out there that could surprise us with the amount they lose. There's some teams out there. Lakers actually look like they might have clicked in a little bit. New Orleans looks the opposite. We'll see what happens. All right, 2 stars tonight.
Boy, Markkanen, you think he's a star?
I think he might get both of them, actually. But
we might as well give him both of them.
Kessler's got to grab this second.
Markkanen and Kessler, obviously.
Pretty easy choices tonight.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you all for tuning in. Jazz and the Thunder play a dandy. We'll play the Spurs twice, then the Thunder twice. We'll see what happens. Interesting, by the way, the Jazz will play 5 games in the same time period. The Thunder play 7. If you remember earlier this year when we talked about how much we were playing and other teams weren't, this now comes to roost on our benefit. We have some travel. We only have 2 back-to-backs the rest of the way. We'll have plenty. We'll be really well rested. There are some advantages to what we have heading down the stretch here. Thanks so much for tuning in.
And practice time.
Ron and I will do this after every game for you the rest of the way, so join us, and I'll be back with you tomorrow for Locked